Some cats spend their whole lives avoiding water. This one climbs into a kayak and doesn't even blink. He wasn't always like this. Before he had a family, he was a stray with no name and no reason to trust anyone. Strange sounds meant danger. Open spaces meant exposure. New places meant only one thing: run and hide before something bad happens. That was the only rule that had ever kept him alive. When a young couple first took him in, he barely left the corner of the room for weeks. He flinched at footsteps. He hid under furniture whenever the door opened. Loud noises sent him bolting for cover. And even quiet, gentle voices made him freeze in place, waiting to see whether this too would turn into something to fear. Nobody expected that cat to ever willingly leave the house, let alone step foot on a boat. But something in him started to shift, slowly, the way trust always does. It wasn't one single moment. It was hundreds of small ones stacked on top of each other. Food left out at the same time every day. A soft voice that never raised in anger. Hands that reached toward him only to offer comfort, never to grab or restrain. Over weeks, then months, the flinching became less frequent. The hiding spots got smaller. He started sleeping in the open instead of tucked behind a couch. Then one weekend, almost as an experiment, they clipped a small harness onto him and carried him down to the water's edge. He didn't fight it. He sat still while they fastened the straps. He watched the river with wide, curious eyes instead of panicked ones. And when they finally stepped into the kayak and settled him onto a lap, he simply looked out at the water like he had done this 100 times before. Nobody had trained him for this. Nobody had expected it either. From that first trip onward, he refused to be left behind. The moment he saw the kayak come out, or the cooler get packed, or the leash and harness appear by the door, he would trot over and wait, tail up, eyes locked on whoever was getting ready to leave. If they tried to go without him, he would cry at the door until someone gave in. So now he goes almost everywhere they go. He rides quietly on laps as the kayak drifts down slow, sunlit rivers, watching birds skim across the surface and reeds bend gently in the wind. He sits calmly through the wobble of waves, through the splash of paddles, through sounds that should, by every instinct he was born with, send him running. Instead, he presses close to whoever is holding him and simply watches the world go by, completely unbothered. He has ridden along on hikes through dry brush and open trail. He has posed for selfies squeezed between two people who clearly adore him. Sunburned and smiling, a cat draped over their shoulders like he was always meant to be there. He has fallen asleep in laps under open sky, surrounded by strangers who stop paddling just to ask, "Is that really a cat on a boat?" It is, and it still surprises people every single time. Friends who know his backstory find it almost impossible to reconcile the two versions of him. The cat who used to disappear the second a stranger walked in is the same cat who now rides confidently through moving water, surrounded by noise, movement, and unfamiliar faces. They ask how it happened, expecting some clever trick, some secret training method. But there isn't one. There was only patience, only consistency, only two people who kept showing up the same steady way, day after day, until fear quietly ran out of reasons to stay. It didn't happen overnight, and it certainly wasn't easy. There were setbacks along the way, days when a loud engine on a passing boat sent him scrambling back into a lap, or when an unfamiliar dog barking on the shore made him freeze and flatten his ears. His family never punished those moments or forced him to push through them. Instead, they simply paused, let him settle, and tried again another day. They learned to read the small signs, the flick of a tail, the tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes widened just slightly, and they adjusted their pace to match his, rather than the other way around. Over time, those setbacks became fewer and further between. The cat, who once needed several minutes to calm down after a loud noise, began recovering in seconds. The cat who used to dig his claws into denim out of fear started instead to simply lean in closer, seeking comfort rather than escape. It was a slow, unglamorous kind of progress, the sort that rarely makes for a dramatic before and after photo, but it was progress all the same, quietly compounding week after week, until one day, almost without anyone noticing, he simply wasn't the same frightened animal anymore.
His family says the change didn't happen because they tried to force him out of his shell. It happened because they stopped rushing him. They let him choose when to come closer. They let him retreat when he needed to. And slowly, without ever demanding it, they built something that no amount of pressure ever could have: real trust, freely given. Now, that trust shows up everywhere, in the way he presses his head into a hand before anyone even reaches for him, in the way he waits by the door each morning, ready for whatever adventure the day might bring, in the way he sits calmly on a kayak in the middle of open water, in a place that would have terrified the frightened stray he used to be. This is the story of a cat who learned that new places don't always mean danger, and that the people who once felt like strangers can become the safest place in the world. It's a reminder that behavior we call fearful or shy is rarely permanent. Underneath it is usually just an animal waiting to find out whether this time, finally, it's safe to stop running. People often assume that a shy or fearful cat will always be that way, that some animals simply come wired for anxiety and there's little anyone can do to change it. But stories like this one suggest something different. They suggest that fear is often circumstantial, rather than fixed, shaped by whatever an animal experienced before it ever met the people who would go on to love it. Give that same animal enough time, enough patience, and enough consistency, and something in it can soften in ways that once seemed impossible. That doesn't mean every rescued cat will end up paddling down a river in a kayak. Every animal heals at its own pace and on its own terms, and some will always prefer the quiet safety of a windowsill to the noise of open water. But the underlying lesson holds true regardless of where it leads. Safety, once it's truly felt, tends to expand outward. A cat who finally trusts one person in one room can eventually learn to trust that same person anywhere, even somewhere as unfamiliar as a boat drifting down a river. Not every rescue looks dramatic from the outside. Sometimes it looks like a cat curled up in a kayak watching the water pass by, utterly unafraid. Sometimes healing looks less like a single rescue moment and more like 1,000 quiet days that slowly add up into something unshakable. On this channel, we share real stories of rescued cats finding their forever homes, the ordinary, quiet moments that turn into extraordinary ones, and the reminder that trust, once it's earned patiently and without force, can take an animal absolutely anywhere, even out onto open water with the people who saved him. If this story made you smile, you're not alone. Subscribe for more heartwarming animal rescue stories every single week, and share this one with someone who still believes shy or fearful animals can never fully come out of their shell. Sometimes all it takes is time, patience, and someone willing to wait.